Joel Embiid left the game tonight with an injury. Number one, prayers up. Hope it's not bad. We know one of the stars and bright spots in this league, MVP, well on his way to a back-to-back MVP, which leads us to our next conversation, which is Joel playing tonight felt very much so because of the 65-game limit that we actually talked about once before on the pod. And in talking about that on the pod, I don't remember what I said verbatim, but I remember the gist of what I said, which was something along the lines of everybody's happy with this 65-game rule until you got a bum on all-NBA team, until you got somebody that's not totally deserving to be the MVP of the league because someone else didn't qualify before the game because of this game limit. Now, where I think is actually quite bullshit myself is to incorporate something at this point, a rule like 65 games need to be played in order to win an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, All-NBA. Guys didn't face those rules before, but those same All-NBA teams, those same MVP awards lists, Defensive Player of the Year, those lists are the same. Like when the guys who win those awards this year pop up on the list that they'll be added to, or once again, it won't say, and by the way, they reached a 65-game limit to make that. Like, it's bullshit. Like, that hasn't been a rule. So essentially to make guys live up to a certain standard that wasn't the standard before to make these teams, but yet you only go on the same team, there's no added bonus, no added incentive for these things. So you end up on the same list as the guys who back in the day played and may not have played 65 games but still made the list. I told you, I once lost a Defensive Player of the Year award to Kawhi Leonard, and I think he played 51 games.
DraftKings, the leader in fantasy sports, just dropped a brand new fantasy game called Pick 6. It's the newest way for you to get in on fantasy football action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Just pick between 2 and 6 NFL players and predict if they're going to have more or less of a stat. For example, a player will have more or less than 100 rushing yards or more than 1 touchdown. Okay? Track your lineup, compete against others for a shot at a huge cash prize. Fantastic. DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Sign up now. Takes 90 seconds. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is Collins, C-O-L-I-N. The crown is yours.
So whoever wins Defensive Player of the Year this year, it isn't going to say, but he played 65 games. That's bullshit. And so in turn, you get Joel, who comes out there tonight because he's 3 games away from not qualifying to win MVP, and he forces it. And Freak played with him and JK diving for the ball, but maybe it's not as bad if the knee isn't already banged up, right? And so now, because, like Joel, if I get it. Like, you want to win MVP. You worked that hard, put the work in that he's put in to get better and continue to play at that level on a nightly basis. Of course you want to win MVP. So, you force it, you get out there, and you put yourself in harm's way, and then Joel Embiid is hurt now. Now, again, prayers up for Joel, as we hope it's not something too serious. But is that the goal? Is the goal putting people in harm's way just so they can qualify for an award? Because I don't think that was the goal. Like, this man is actually dealing with an injury. Like, so again, because you're dealing with injuries for stretches of the season, you don't qualify? So, I don't know, man. I don't think it's right. I think it's a tough rule to implement because, like, we travel crazy. We play a bunch of games. the speed of the NBA game today is totally different than it ever was before. All of a sudden, you're seeing a lot more hamstring injuries, calf injuries, soft tissue injuries, all these different things, knees. And you got guys forcing it to get back so they can qualify. Because guess what? These awards are very much so attached to the amount of money that you can make. They're very much so attached to that. So it's going to be interesting. You got a lot of NBA owners making huge investments into players, and we're just throwing guys out there banged up just to meet these requirements. See, Tyrese Haliburton came back tonight. Probably forced his way back a little bit earlier not long ago because he's seen that those numbers start to creep up. And guess what he did? Went out for another 4 or 5 games before he came back tonight? So it's going to get really interesting when you got these owners making these owners of these teams making these huge investments into players, and yet you got to throw them in harm's way just because there's a 65-game limit. Like, we all know when somebody's egregiously just sitting and the difference when somebody's actually hurting. So if you don't have a core base of voters that can identify that, then maybe they shouldn't have a vote. Like, if you can't identify that, man, this guy's just been taking games off and not giving, then just simply don't vote for him. Because it is in the hands of the voters, right? So then just simply don't vote. But to throw guys in harm's way, I don't really bang with it. And now we got one of our premier faces in this league, the MVP of our league, possibly hurt for an extended period of time. Because he's forcing it. Because, yeah, of course he should be in the running for MVP. Damn right he should. And so, I think it's whack. I get what people was trying to get at, but you got a lot of people making these rules that don't know how it feel to play it back-to-back, that don't know how it feel to play a third game in 4 nights, that don't know how it feel to play 5 and 7. But aside from knowing how it feels to actually compete in that amount of games, because I know people say, oh, that's your job. Number one, you take sick days and don't and then go to work the next day. So shut up. We don't want to hear it. But number two, again, when guys are actually hurt, it's a real thing. There was no debate that Joel Embiid was hurt tonight. I don't think anybody that's up for debate for anyone. And then you have something like that happen, right? Like, I don't think it's right. I disagree with it, and it'll be interesting to see how far this thing goes. Because all of a sudden, one of our main guys in this league, one of the faces of our league, is out forcing it to try, and it ain't so great now. So we shall see. But as I said before, wishing the best to Joel. Prayers up. Hope to see him back on the court soon, and hopefully it's nothing too serious.